And sometimes he signed Aleph Quint. Aleph Quint, there was a Litvish Yid who worked in the Merkez. Elio Quint, a Yid at Talmud Chochem. And so the Friedrich Rebbe would send letters in the name of Chaim Liebman. In fact, in the Igros of the Friedrich Rebbe, it's interesting to note, being that I'm mentioning this, there's a lot of letters that were written to Zalman Gerari. And these letters to Zalman Gerari are all signed by Chaim Liebman. And why were the letters sent to Zalman Gerari? Because Zalman Gerari was learning in the Miri Yeshiva. The famous Miri Yeshiva in Europe, Zalman Gerari registered himself as a Talmud there. Why did he register himself as a Talmud there? Because in the Miri Yeshiva, there were a lot of people that came to learn over there that came from Hasidic Mishpachos. So his inyan was to make a kesher, to keep a kesher with these people, to keep notice of the contact of the genealogy with Hasidim. But over here, he sort of he snapped. The same Chaim Lieberman snapped. He was the librarian that built up the Friedrich Rebbe's library, and he knew every sefer that was in the library. He didn't have a catalog or anything, but he knew every sefer that was in the library and exactly where it was. In fact, at the times when I learned in 770 as a Bach in 770, I remember this particular story. We were learning Bava Kama, and there's a sefer on Bava Kama called Kaiva Yeshua. And I wanted to look up something over there. So I'm all excited. There wasn't a library of Sfarim in 770. There wasn't at all. There was just the Gemaras, Shulchan Aruch, some Farshim, but there wasn't really a library. The first library in 770 started, my brother was inside, he's the one that started the first library in 770. How did he start the first library in 770? There were, the Beis Medrash in 770 had two rooms to it. There was the big room, and there was the small room that's attached to it. By the doctor, these two rooms were used. The small room was the operating room, and the big room was the recovery room. In fact, I still remember in 770, there was a closet, like a medical closet over there. There was a tile wall and a medical closet where the doctor held this instrument they had to work with. Later, there was a coat closet in that little room, and that was the first start of the library. And then later, Reb Shmuel had two rooms that were given to him in the back, two rooms. In one room was his shir room, where we'd come in for a shir, and then in the other room was a bed, where he would sleep over there. He lived over there. So when he got on in age, he found it difficult, so he decided to move out to his daughter, and that room became vacant. When that room became vacant, so we made the library in that room. But still, it wasn't an extensive library. Well, we wrote letters to Mechabrim, asking them to give this for them. We bought for them. It wasn't a real yeshivish type of library. So if Rabbi wanted to look up some sefer, there were two choices. One choice was to go to the Kozler Rebbe. The Kozler Rebbe his name was Urkeach. He lived on President Street, where Free is today, and he had a tremendous library. Tremendous library.
Shapira Shver, no?
Shapira, better Shver. So he had a tremendous library, and he was very receptive. When the Bochum came to him, he would enjoy to sit and schmooze with the Bochum, and give some refreshments, or a glass of tea, or whatever. That was one eitzah. And or you could have asked Chaim Lieberman for the sefer. How do you ask Chaim Lieberman for the sefer? So, when you walk into 770, the first room to your right is the Merkez office, and in that Merkez office, there were two desks. There's the first desk, and then there's the second desk, inner desk. On the inner desk sat Rabbi Chadakov. And on Rabbi Chadakov's corner of the desk, there was a little, like a little type of a, I don't think, something, a container to put for, if you want to give something to the Rebbe, you left it over there. So you could, over there, you could also leave a note for Chaim Lieberman that you want to have the following sefer, and the next day you would get, the sefer will be lying over there. No, Zelickson is going to, another, Zelickson had a little medical cabinet over there. That's a besondere Sache. So, I told to see the Shiit for feeding him, but over here, he snapped. He snapped, and he cooperated with this Berke that he should have access to the library. So they noticed, the librarians noticed that there's a lot of spaces coming up on the shelves. A lot of empty spaces on the shelf. And it kept getting more and more. They couldn't figure out what's happening. Till finally, they put in a camera. And the camera picked him up the way he walked in over there, and the way he took Sforim, and the way he walked out. And Mikavust who it is. The Rebbetzin was the first one that was told about it, and she told it to the Rebbe. And that's when the Rebbe made the big tumult about what's going on. Because the Rebbe first tried peacefully to try to talk to the Rashag, and the Rashag should talk to him. And the Rebbe said, if it's not going to work, then I'll have to come out publicly. And unfortunately, it didn't work, and it came out publicly. Now, there was a problem. The problem was, they noticed spaces, but they didn't know what was missing. Because Chaim Lieberman, as I said, had the library in his head. He didn't have a catalog. That on this shelf is this Sforim, on this shelf is this. He didn't know. So really, when there's so many spaces, nobody knew what's missing. And here's the story, how I managed to find out what was missing. When he took the Sforim, he had no idea what the Sforim were and what the value of the Sforim were. He just knew that they're valuable Sforim. And before I go any further, I just want to make it very clear. He did not take any Chassidish Sforim. He did not take any Ksovim. And he did not take the Baal Shem Tov Siddur. That's established, that's known.
But this wasn't done.
Huh? The Baal Shem Tov Siddur is in the Friedrich Rebbe's Zimmer, in the Vasem Geruf in the Chamadanis. Chamadanis is suitcases. They were laying in a suitcase over there. If I get a chance, I'll get to that also. But he didn't take, the only known Chassidish sefer that he took was a Noam Elimelech. Now, Noam Elimelech is a valuable sefer because people bought it for a segula. In fact, the Rebbe in the Noam Elimelech that was printed in America in the 1940s, the Rebbe writes, there's a letter there from the Friedrich Rebbe where he writes about the schus of having the sefer in your house. There were people would even buy an old Noam and cut it up into parts and sell the parts separately. So over there, that was the only sefer that he took, and he sold it to somebody. He sold it to a guy, I think the name was Schwartz, some dealer from Eretz Yisrael, and he was supposed to send him. Now, he did not want to take, for the sale of the Sforim, he didn't want to take cash. Only a check, a bank check or private check, not cash. And he gave everybody a receipt for the sefer, for what he bought. He gave him a receipt that it should be, why? Because he felt everything should be legal. In case there's ever any trouble, and he take cash, so right away it becomes suspicious. Why did you take cash? And this person came special to buy the Noam Elimelech, and he was supposed to pay him, I think, $18,000 for the Noam Elimelech. And he went, but he didn't have, he had cash with him, but not that. So he went back to Eretz Yisrael, and he went back to Yisrael, and he was supposed to send him a check. And then that Shabbos, the Rebbe came out, the whole tumult that the Rebbe made. So he called up my cousin, and he said, I'm afraid that this Naim is from the Chabadskis Forum, and he backed out, and it wasn't purchased. Okay, this is all parenthetically speaking. Once he got the Svarim, there were a few hundred Svarim. There are two Girsais. One Girs is 400 Svarim, and one Girs is 500 something Svarim. So he wanted to sell them. Now, how do you sell Svarim? There's a very simple idea. There's an auction house called Christie's. So he went to Christie's, and he asked Christie's if they'll take these Svarim to put them on auction for him. I don't know what stories he told. Somebody didn't tell them the true story where these Svarim come from. Maybe he told the same story with the old man in New Jersey that died and had. But they were. If something told them that don't get involved, they didn't want to get involved. Now he stuck with this Svarim. So what do you do? So when they make an auction, they also make a booklet together with the auction, describing every lot number, everything that's in the auction, with some description about it, a short write-up about the item. In this book that they give out, so right in the beginning, on the first or second page, they list over there their experts. Christie's a Goyish company, but they have Yiddish experts that they're the expert that know these things. So in there were listed two experts. One expert, his name was Eidowitz, Eidilitz, Eidowitz. Another expert was Katzman. Katzman is a big mumche in Svarim, and he's known today. I mean, he's known in the field. Everyone knows Laser Katzman. So he
still alive.
Huh?
He's still alive?
Yeah. He's my cousin. My mother and his mother were two sisters. So he contacted these people and wanted to get some information from them. So he called. If you look at the list, Eidowitz is with an E and Katzman's with a K. So Eidowitz is listed first and Katzman's listed second. So he called Eidowitz, and he said to Eidowitz, he asked him, do you know anything about this and this sefer? She said, yeah, I know about it. I gotta look it up, and this and that. There's Svarim that write about the Svarim. There's Eiket Svarim. There's Svarim that write about. And he asked him a few things, and everything was the same answer. The answer was, I gotta check it. I know about it. It's a chosher sefer, and I gotta check it out. No, and said, now, supposing I want to hire you, are you available for hire? He said, yes. He said, what do you charge? He charges $100 an hour. Okay, good. Okay, yeshkayach. Then he calls Katzman, and he asks Katzman the same question. Do you know anything about this sefer? So Katzman starts telling him, which print are you talking about? The print that was there or the print that was there? And he started telling me. And as I have a few Svarim that every sefer that he asked him, Katzman knew about it, but knew details of the sefer. So he says to Katzman, are you available for hire? I said, yeah. Then what do you charge? I said, I charge $40 an hour. No, so he isn't crazy, Becker. I mean, he did crazy things, but he's not crazy. So if you have two people and one knows more than the other, so he hired Katzman, and he made up with Katzman that for every sefer that he sells, so he'll get also a commission for it. Now let's get back. So now Katzman now is involved. But there was a big problem. You can't get back something if you don't know what's missing. If you know what's missing, so you could look for it to try to find it. But if you don't know what's missing, you can't get it back. So no one had a list of what was missing. So I said to Katzman, Laser, do you have a list of the Svarim that he took? He says, yes. I said, you have a list. Will you give me the list? I'll make a copy of it. He said, I'd love to help you, but I can't do it. He said, why can't you do it? He said, because if it ever comes, the list ever becomes public, and he'll know that it had to come from him, from Katzman, because no one had the list besides Katzman. So how could it, it's like a breach of confidence with your client. So Mevach Hashem eingefallen an idea. And I said to him, look, he worked for an office in downtown Brooklyn. I said, you know what? I'd like to come to your office, and I'll sit there. You give me a desk. I'll sit down over there, and I'll rewrite your list. I'll rewrite it by hand. Not only will I rewrite it by hand, but I'll write it also not in the order that you have it. But what's here on page 1 will be by me on page 4. I'll mix up the whole order, so no one will ever be able to suspect that it came from you. He agreed to that. When he agreed to that, so I got this list. It was a few pages, some 400 svarim, and I brought it to Rabbi Groner. And Rabbi Groner right away, now this is in the Americas, it's the worldwide organization and the worldwide headquarters, but they didn't have a fax machine in the office. So if they wanted to fax something, fortunately, Rabbi Yoman Kleino Shalom, he had a fax machine in his house. So you had to go to his house, and they faxed it right away, the copies of the list. One copy was faxed to England, to Farbrengen Vogel. And one copy was faxed that you saw to Shlomo Zirkin. Why was it faxed to these people? Yeah, I shouldn't talk. You have to understand, these items are like a specialty item. You can't go into any sefer and buy an antique sefer. But there are special dealers that they deal with antique svarim. So Zirkin happened to be a dealer of antique svarim. So they figured that he will know who may have bought such svarim. But now they have the list. And Farbrengen Vogel deals with Gevirim. He knows people also in England that are svarim collectors. So he'll contact them, and through him and through Zirkin, they will get back, they'll be able to get back svarim. That was the first break, so to say, in the case of the svarim. Now, in New York, being that I'm working together with Katzman, so he introduced me to, there used to be on Crown Street, there was a Rav by the name Goldman that was called the Naipester Rav. The Naipester Rav once printed a Shas, the Shutfis with Noskrin Gerari. I think it was called Ma'iris, I forgot what it was called. They printed a Shas, and his son is a dealer of antique svarim. So his son agreed to cooperate, and he gave me a few svarim that he had, which he had the bill of sale for them also. So those svarim I took them right away, and I paid him cash for those svarim because he wanted to get back his money. Now there became a question. The question was, he had also other svarim which he sold already, and he made a profit on them. So the question is, if he goes and gets them back from the person that Moshe, if he bought the sefer for $1,000 and he ended up selling it for $2,000, so he will give that person back his $2,000, and the person will give him back the sefer. But the question is, could he keep the $1,000 profit, or does he have to give that up also? This for him that he didn't sell, okay, he was masking, I didn't make any money on it, so you give me back whatever I paid for it. But the svarim that I sold and I made a profit, what's with the profit of those svarim? He wasn't interested to go to get it back and lose the profit also. It's given on a shayla. How do you deal with those svarim? What happened was, at one time, in the early stages, Rabbi Grona asked me if I know maybe a non-Lubavitcher Rov that could paskin a shayla for the Rebbe. The Rebbe wants to have a psak din to them and behind the svarim. The Rebbe didn't go into the question of Chassidim and Chassidus, you know. He wants a halachically, just pure halacha, to who does the svarim belong. So I said to him, yeah, I know. I have such a Rav. And I went to Williamsburg. In Williamsburg, there was a Yid who passed away quite recently, maybe about 3 years ago. A Yid Azoken, that was a Bavusta Paisik, and his name was the official Hershkowitz. Official Hershkowitz was the, he lived on 90 Rose Street in the project over there. He was he called himself, he was a Rav in Europe yet. In Europe he was called the Halaina Rav. And in America, he was known as the Klausenberger Dayan. In Williamsburg, he was the Klausenberger Dayan. I happened to had a contact with him. I had some shilas once. So I went to him. In fact, this my cousin of mine knew him, and he introduced me to him. So I went to him, and when I went to him 2 times. The first time I went to him, I asked Rabbi Marlo Shalom to come together with me. Why did I ask Rabbi Marlo to come together with me? Because he says, I didn't want to be alone. So we came to him, and I told him the story, and I said that Rebbe would like to know Psak, Biksav, I think. To remember blank the svarim. All he said to me was, Mini Kimp Morgan. That was his answer. The next day, I came back to him. I came back already alone, and he tells me, I think he wrote it. I think it was a big sub. I don't remember right now, but his psak was the following. He said that a husband and wife get married, and the wife brings in some things into the marriage. That's this fun Nichse Tzvein Basel. It's called Nichse Malug. Nichse Malug is the din is that the guf belongs to the isha, and the baal is oichel peiros. Now he said, what happens if the woman gets a yerusha during the marriage? He said, I'm not going to go into the question of Rebbe and Svarim. He said, that's not a halacha question. He said, Al Pi halacha, he says, it's considered Nichse Malug. And if it's considered Nichse Malug, is the guf belongs to the woman, and the baal is Eichel Peiros. What shot the baal is Eichel Peiros? He could use them. So if Moshe, the husband wants to use the svarim, in this case the svarim, wants to use the svarim, so the svarim is his to use. Visa din, could she sell the Nichse Malug? The din is she can't sell the Nichse Malug. If she sells the Nichse Malug, he can take it, he can get it back. in this case, you told me that the Rebbe and the Rashag want to have the Svarim. But Mela, so the wife, who's the daughter, and there's only daughters over here, so they're Yashim, but it was Nitzimur, so they can't sell it. That was his first psak. Now that this question came up about the profit for the dealers, so we decided to go back to him. And we came back to him, and he paskin that the dealers should get the profit. Why? Even though there's a din that if somebody sold stolen property, you could take it back from him, and he loses his money even. The kind of loses his money. But that's all geret going when it was known that it was stolen property. But in this case over here, Barry did not consider this stolen property. He considered that it belongs to him. Nobody knew the whole story, where this farm come from. So they thought it was like a kosher temple and a kosher level. And so in this case, there's no kanas on the kainer, and on the moicher, and on the kainer, and they're entitled to their profit. So I had to give him back his the money. He brought me the svarim from the people, and he told me an amount that he paid, and I straightened out with him. So I was involved in svarim. I don't know the exact number of the svarim, but it was a total of about $21,000 or $22,000 or $23,000. I don't remember that. I laid out in cash, and Rabbi Chadakov wouldn't pay me back in cash, but he paid me back by check. And I reported in income tax that it was from a sale of some valuable books that I had. So this was the first part. But then there was people want to stop to eat something. Okay. Huh? But then there was a very interesting story that happened. There was this Mr. Idolitz, who was also an expert on Svarim. He also bought Svarim and sold Svarim. But he didn't want to, in the beginning, he didn't want to work with me. When I spoke to him, he had no interest to get involved in this. But so happens, it's an interesting story. A yid in England, a big gevir, I gotta look up his name, has a daughter living in Manhattan. Now, Idolitz, besides being an expert for the auction house, was also an expert for a gevir. There was a gevir in New York over here by the name of Ludwig Jesselson. Ludwig Jesselson was the president of Shaarei Tzedek Hospital in Eretz Yisrael. Big gevir. I happened to know him. How did I come to know him? Because he had a company in Manhattan known as Philip Brothers. It was a company with trading, and I used to give a share in that company. That's a story itself, how I came to give a share in that company. So I called him up, and I asked him, by any chance, could I send you the list and check if you bought if any of these ones came into your collection? And he called me back, and he said, if he got back this safer, he got back this safer, be happy. The rest of this for him is not the. He said, but he didn't get any of these for him. But this gevir from England, he was Vogel told him about me, and suddenly mentioned that I'm having trouble to deal with this guy Idolitz. So he said the stuff was that I said he contacted his daughter, and his daughter contacted Jesselson, And Jesselson knew the Meiser, and Jesselson told him that I'd like you to cooperate with this Rabbi Bogomilsky. So he gave me a call, and he said, I have a few svarim. Are you interested in the svarim? I said, yeah, definitely. The problem was, one sefer that he had a few svarim. I don't remember the names right now. But one sefer I remember was an Amsterdam Haggadah. Now, what was the Meiser with Haggadahs? The Meiser with Haggadahs was, today, there's yeshivas for boys, and Beshivka, Beshara, whatever, Beshaka for girls. And the girls are learned. So when it comes Pesach by the Seder table, and you discuss the Haggadah, the girls also can participate because they also know the things. Amol Gezeiten, the girls and the wives didn't know anything. All the wives knew how to run the household, and the girls grew up in the household and to learn from their mother how to cook and how to sew and how to, to do whatever. Comes Pesach by the Seder. The will sitzen by the Seder, the will Farbrengen and everything. So the rich people used to get an artist, that the artist should make pictures in the Haggadah. And you have pictures in the Haggadah, so you can sit by the table and discuss the pictures. So you had already a way to... If it was a chashuv artist, it cost more money. So this Haggadah was printed in Amsterdam. The Haggadah must have been about 200 years old. And he tells me that he bought it, that it was bought, Barry sold it for $1,700, and someone bought it off him for $4,700, and he bought it from that person, from the middleman, and he got $5,200. Okay. The question is, how do you deal with it? There's no receipts, there's nothing. Because if you go back to receipts, the receipt is $1,700, and he doesn't want to lose his money, what he laid out. And so I told you, so the Rebbe by the Farbrengen said that wer ist advising a Kabbalah, also gekauft das Svarim und bezahlt kach für kach, hat ihm abgegeben the Geld. But the Rebbe didn't say what will be if someone bought it and for a second hand already, and made a profit, a flipper, yeah. The flipper, what happens, how do you deal with that? So, I think that Rabbi Grunner asked the Rebbe, and the Rebbe said, "Wir sollen gehen zur Rav, und als Rav wird bestätigen, that is an ehrlicher Mensch, so you go on the Rav, you are downstairs, and you do what the Rav said." So I said to him, "Who is your Rav?" He said, "My Rav is Menashe Klein." I said, "Very good. I know Menashe Klein. Very good. Let's meet by Reb Menashe Klein." So we met one evening by Menashe Klein, and he came with the Haggadah, and I gave him his $5,200. And Menashe Klein wrote a letter to the Rebbe that by me was bogomilsky and idolists and ehrliche people, and the sale was made for $5,200, and he signed his name, Menashe Ben, his mother's name, very much derech. It was very nice of him. After this sale took place, so the Menashe Klein says he can't understand it. I can't understand. $2,500 for Haggadah. It doesn't make sense to him. So I said to him, "Rav Klein, I'll tell you a bigger chiddush." He says, I said to him, there was another Haggadah. That other Haggadah was sold for $150,000.
For Barry?
Huh? Yeah. What's the Moshe? The Moshe was, the other Haggadah was known as the Kitsi Haggadah. Kitsi was the name of an artist. And the Americans reprinted that particular Haggadah. And there was known that there were 6 copies of that Haggadah. And there was a person in, I think in Switzerland, that he was a collector, and he had 3 of the Haggadahs. And when the dealer know what this buyer is looking for, so if I says a shrewd dealer got a hold of this person, I got another Haggadah. You'll have 4. Good. Money by this person was no problem, and he agreed to pay $150,000 for the Haggadah. When Rabbi Cohen heard this, he says, "Was $150,000 for Haggadah? Mistama pare kechas was I nomen So, okay, let's take a little break. So we call it the song the Dan Notzach. Well, in English, the victory of the Svarim, also about the Svarim. I hope people will not be upset, but I'd like to say that I think that there was another thing that it gave to Teves, that Chassidim have to look at it a little bit different. There's a vote by Pesach. We call Pesach Chag HaPesach. In the Torah statement Yom Tov Pesach. Torah steht Chag HaMatzos. So they ask why in the Torah steht Chag HaMatzos, and why do we call it Chag HaPesach? So there's a teretz, I think, from Rabbi Yitzhak Adisha, that he says the following, that the Yidden are praising the Eibishter, and the Eibishter is praising the Yidden. When the Eibishter calls it Chag HaMatzos, because the Eibishter is praising the Yidden. What was the Inyan Matzah? Well, here's big mistake, the Shabbaseinu Lahachmetz, and they went out, the Eibishter said the go is Megagangan. So that's a praise of the Yidden. The Yidden, on the other hand, don't want to praise themselves. They want to praise the Eibishter. What's the praise of the Eibishter? Chag HaPesach. That the Eibishter, Asher Pasach HaKadosh Baruch Hu Botev B'nei Yisrael B'Mitzrayim, and V'nachmer Mitzrayim B'Tei Hitzel, V'yikadom V'yishtachu. In other words, they're praising the Eibishter. The Rebbe talks only about the Svarim. But I think it could be said that there's much deeper victory than the Svarim. Talk of the Svarim are valuable Svarim, but there's something much more. What's the much more? The much more, the Rebbe personally had a victory. The Rebbe personally, L'chayre, to have a bisschen verstehen Dominion over here. I can't say that I didn't know Barry. I was able to identify him, but I don't think I ever spoke to him. But I don't think that he was Messiah the Rebbe. There's no question about it. But I don't think it was a total Meshugana. In other words, what he did was calculated. What was he calculating? He was calculating that the Friedrich Rebbe, his grandfather, passed away, and B'meila now there's no Mamal Makom for his grandfather. No one is qualified to be a Mamal Makom for his grandfather, even though he knew very well who the Rebbe was, and the Rebbe spent time with him, learning and also in secular studies. He knew very well, but he held that there's no Mamalu Mokum to his grandfather. He felt there's no Mamalu Mokum to his grandfather. So therefore, he figured that, so there's the Yerusha. And the Yerusha, the Rebbe had no sons, only daughters. And the din is that the son Yashin, but when there's no sons, then the daughters Yashin. The Meir said he needed money, so him and his mother made a decision where his mother said that you need money, go downstairs, take a few svarim and you'll have money. But take a few svarim, but take a few, it's the chmais. Okay. Now, I'm sure the people over here sitting here are saying, how do you know this? It sounds very interesting, but how do you know this? So I'll tell you on what I built it. After his mother passed away, Chana, after she passed away, she was buried in a cemetery that belongs to the Munkatcher Chassidus. She went, before she passed away, he went together with her to the Munkatcher, and they asked that they sell a grave, a burial place on this cemetery. So for him, they didn't want to give, but for her, they gave. Okay. Then afterwards, she passed away, I think the Rabbi was on a Friday, if I'm not mistaken. So afterwards, he was sitting Shiva in his home in Montclair, New Jersey. So we decided, there was an indication from the Rebbe to do it, that we decided that we'll go to him, to be Menachem Avon, and we'll try to convince him to transfer back his mother to the Lubavitcher Cemetery in Montefiore. The Frat, when they bought the cemetery in Montefiore, so the Rebbe, the Friedrich Rebbe that is, purchased graves opposite the oil, where his mother, Rebbe Shnashtan's son, is buried over there, where the Rebbetzin, Chaim Mushka is buried over there, and there was a grave over there, one of the graves over there that's not used was for her. It was for the Beis Harav. So we went to Mount Clair, New Jersey. Who's the we? The we was from the Chevra Kedisha is gegangen Rabbi Shmuel Fox. You remember him? He was a rabbi in the yeshiva. He ran the Gemil's Chesed, the Ken Yisrael Yalei. And then the Rabbi Yisha Shapiro. And then Beto Lipska was also a member of the Chevra Kedisha, the maskir of the Chevra Kedisha. And I was the driver, and I'm also a member of the Chevra Kedisha. So we went 4 people. We came to Mount Clair, New Jersey, and it wasn't a type of a shiva house where the doors open. We had to knock on the door to be let into the house. When we knocked on the door, so his wife answered the door, she let us in, and she, I hate to say, but she wasn't a nice person. You know, there's a word that they have in English starts with a B, but I don't want to say that word. And she gave us like a shikl mishabeirach, you know, and we just didn't pay attention, that we disregarded her. And we came into the house. There was a living room over there. He was sitting shiva in the living room, and there were 2 people there, a husband and a wife, that came there to be Menachem Avon. They were talking, you know. We were quiet the whole time, except that I don't remember what it was, but the husband that came to be Menachem Avon had a certain question, it's in a Mishnah, and I answered that question. Now, you have to know, he knew Rabbi Fuchs. How did I know he knew Rabbi Fuchs? Because it's known to Rabbi Fuchs, we told the story that in a Tvotsk, he was assigned to learn together with Berke. And the Friedrich Rebbe tested them in Yevomis. They were learning Yevomis. The Friedrich Rebbe tested him, Rabbi Fuchs, and Berke together. So he knew Rabbi Fuchs. After the 2 people left, So again, she opened her mouth, and he told her to please leave the room, to go upstairs, you know. They have to, it's a double, 2-floor house, you know. And we started a conversation. The conversation basically was around this Indian about bringing his mother to Kvuda in Lubavitch. He spoke to us very politely, I must say, very politely. Very well thought out and chosen words. And he says to me, he says, a defective at Merufin, maybe we could work it out. Now, what was the problem? His problem was that he was afraid that if she'll be buried in Montefiore, you know, the kanoim amongst the Hasidim, that they'll make they'll throw garbage over there, do worse things. So he said that the defective at Merufin, like another mean to say, like if the Rebbe will tell him that, Berka, don't worry, I will take care of it. You know, it'll be okay. And the conversation went back and forth and back and forth. And then he says, at one time he said, by Rebbe at Merufin, you know, we could work it out. And I said to him, you know that's not going to happen. So the only thing he said to me was, like, you know, the Rebbe is not going to come to call you. So he said, Ich bin like, I also have my things, you know, my caprice. But if you listen to the words that I said now, he said two very interesting things. He said, I defective at Merufin, or I Rebbe vet Merufin. In other words, it's not the Rebbe vet Merufin, because he didn't recognize the Rebbe as the Rebbe. As I said before, he felt that the Rebbe is not the Mamal Mokum.
Why not?
So that's why he felt that Yerusha comes into place. But if Moshe, let's say, he would recognize the Rebbe as the Rebbe, Yerusha wouldn't even come into place. He would realize that the Rebbe is the Baal Bosh, just like he wouldn't take from his grandfather and he can't take from the Mamal Malcolm. So so the Rebbe even said one time, as I made the Benkel. That's a Babusta statement that when the Rebbe had called in the Agudat Tzidach Chabad people, he said, I made the Benkel. And when the ruling came out from court, the ruling wasn't just that the Sfarim, like she said that the Sfarim, when she was deposed, so she said that the Sfarim belonged, my Tata and the Sfarim belonged to the Chassidim. So that's it. This mishpat put a sort of a question on the Rebbe's Nesias, and on the Rebbe, whatever his goal was during the Nesias, and the psak came through the court. The psak came that the Rebbe is Rebbe. So that's why I say that there's something much deeper that we have to think about. Hey Teves, not just the Svarim, which is a very important thing. I'm not minimizing that at all. But there's just like I said when I get into Pesach, Chag HaMatzos and Chag HaPesach. So we as Hasidim have to think about the other part, which the Rebbe doesn't talk about. The Rebbe's not going to say it's my Yom Tov, you know, the Rebbe wouldn't talk about such a thing. But it is a victory for Chassidim that we have the Rebbe. And a victory for Chassidim that it was declared that he is the Rebbe. Remember, he's the Mamal Makim, he's the Dora Shri that they kept talking about all the years. So, when did I travel? After Yubis Thomas. So, after I brought back some of the Svarim, I always, before I would travel to California, I would write the Rebbe a note that I'm planning to travel to California, and the Rebbe would answer should be a skoma of askonim l'shom or anash l'shom. So the Yeoman said to me, why do you got to write the Rebbe and get the answer? Why didn't you write the Rebbe that you spoke to Kunyan and you spoke to Farbrengen and to different heads over there, and you asked him for bracha? So I followed his advice and I wrote the note to the Rebbe. And usually the answer always was, Oscar, let's see. That was the common answer. This time, when I sent the Rebbe a note that I'm planning to leave to California, I got a big answer, an unusual type of answer. I have the written copy of what the label wrote out the answer. And the answer went as follows. Like when I wrote that I'm planning to do my trip for a magbus for Yeshiva Stenkutin Lubavitch, so the Rebbe underlined Shenesyasid al Yedei Bal HaSvarim B'chul. In other words, the Rebbe is saying to me, you want to go to raise money for the Rebbe. This is the Rebbe's yeshiva, the same one that you're helping with the Svarim. So it's not something that you could leave. And then he writes, Hagzela be'enam, this, the Gzela is still actual. Uvemela b'chol rega mamish, zeh she'enam yeshiva oivei b'mitzvus aseh min ha'tayra. Whoever does not give back the Svarim is a Gzela. ומזה מובן בנגיע לזה שיוכל לסייע ובפרט שכבר זוכה ועושה והצליח בעזרת השם יזבורך בנגיע לספרים הקודם, אבל אפילו במקום ספק אמיתי, הרי זה ספק במצוססת מן התורה, ובנגיע למסייע ניתייסו גם המצוס לא יססה, דלפני איבה למן התורה וקל להובן. So I have read a whole Hezbollah there. So I remained, and then the Rebbe told Levu Grona I should wait here till the Shchai Shov. He didn't want me, I should travel in the 9 days. So just wait here till the Shchai Shov. During this period came the connection from England with the man of the name in English was Jack Lanza, a big Yevir in England that was a Svarim collector, and his daughter was a friend with Jesselson, and Jesselson connected with Eidowitz that he should work together with me, and that's how I managed to get back another few Svarim by staying here that week. That's one thing. Another interesting thing was, Barry was no fool, and he knew that supposedly he wins the case. But you never know what the judge could rule. Suppose he wins the case. What are the Chassidim going to do? You know what they'll do? They'll take out all the valuable Svarim from the library, or all the valuable Ksavim, and they'll say it was never here. So while the case was going on, he made an application to the court that he should be allowed to take an inventory of the Svarim that are in the library, that are in the Friedrich's room, and that are in the library. And the court accepted his application, and they ruled that we have to let them in to take an inventory, and Katzman should be the one that should go along to take the inventory. So they said, the judge said, as long as they can take it, take a day, take a few days, but that they come, no. The Babish had no breda. It's the court ruling that to let them in. So they came to take the inventory. I said before that he didn't take any Chassidish Svarim, he didn't take any Ksavim, and there was a concern that he took the Baal Shem Tov Siddur. And I said, it was verified that he didn't take the Baal Shem Tov Siddur. How was it verified? Before he went, this thing had to take place, So Barry told Katzman, who supposedly was his agent, he said, listen, when you go to my grandfather's room, I want you to ask them that they should open the closet and take out, he used the word chamadanas. Chamadanas means suitcases. And there were 3 suitcases over there, or 2 suitcases over there. Well, in it they kept many valuable things, and also the Baal Shem Tov Siddur. And it was kept in these suitcases that whenever the Frierdiker Rebbe would travel, he always took these suitcases with him. They didn't leave them over in the house, wherever it was in Europe, wherever it was. And also, he told them that in one of the chamadanas, you're going to find a letter there, a handwritten letter from the Alter Rebbe. And the handwritten letter from the Alter Rebbe, the Rebbe Marash gave it as a present to his son. Now the Rebbe Marash had 2 sons. One was the Rebbe Rashab, and one was his one was the older brother, the Razor. So he says, and the Razor gave this as a letter, as a present to the Frierdiker Rebbe. And the Frierdiker Rebbe was very meticulous. If he got a present for someone, or he bought something, he would write when he acquired it, and how he acquired it. Was it a present, or he buy it, or whatever it was. And on this letter, the Frierdiker Rebbe wrote that Kibalti ze midoidi harazo. Why was he telling him this? Reishis called. The Rebbe once in a Farbrengen threw in the word Baal Shem Tov Siddur. But the Rebbe, I think, didn't mean to say that he took the Baal Shem Tov Siddur. He could have taken the Baal Shem Tov Siddur. If he kept going on what he's doing, there's no end to it. But by showing this, he wanted to show that he didn't take any ksavim of Lubavitch, and he didn't take the Baal Shem Tov Siddur. That's what he wanted to show. He also wanted to show that ksavim don't necessarily belong to a Rebbe. V'oraya, the Rebbe Marash should have given it to the Rebbe Rashab, not to the Razor. Vibaldi gave it to the Razor is a raya that you divide it up. I take one piece, you take one piece, and you see from this letter he wanted to prove that there's nothing wrong. He's entitled to take, going with his shita, that he's entitled to take with it. He's entitled to it. It's part of his mother's share, and he's entitled to take it. So they came to the Rebbe's room, and they started going around this forum, and Casper started making a list of everything that was on the shelf. And Binyamin Klein told him that the Rebbe told them that don't let them spend too much time in the Rebbe's room. So they made a deal with Katzman. The deal was that instead of him writing reports on every Seder, they're going to take a video. They'll take a video of everything that was in this sefer over there. Because what happened was, they would pick up a sefer and he would say a few words about it, and the lawyer would write it down and everything. So instead of spending a lot of time, they took videos of everything that was there, and they opened up these suitcases, these shamadanas, and the Baal Shem Tov Siddur was there. And so that was how he wanted to protect himself, that he shouldn't lose out in case he wins this case. Yeah. How did they get back the Agada to one for $150,000? The truth is they didn't want to give it back. His Heine was, and a gerechte Teine, he Teine, how do I know that this Agada belonged to Lubavitch? Today, if you go up in the Rebbe's library, every sefer has a stamp in it. Not only does every sefer have a stamp in it, but when you walk out of the library, you walk out with a sefer, there's a bell that will begin to ring. when you walk through the bell. But as I said before, there was nothing in the Svarim, in the whole library that the Chaim Liebman ran. There was nothing in the Svarim that said that it belongs to Lubavitch. What helped out to get it back was there was a famous Goyen by the name of Rabbi Cheskel Abramsky. Cheskel Abramsky, huh? Yeah, he lived in England, and in fact there was a time that in Gezuchta Rosh Hashiva in Lubavitch, Zayge come and get Mashiach in Lubavitch, but they didn't take him a while. He had a son who was a librarian in Oxford. Oxford is a famous place in England where all the scholars go over there. And this son happened to write an article about the Kitzi Agodim. So he wrote in the article that it's known that there are six copies that were made, and 3 are by this person in Switzerland, and 1 was in the Lubavitch Rebbe's library. So that article convinced him to give it up and to go to the...
So they paid him back the $150,000?
They paid him back the whole money. The one that I think took care of the sale is a shliach over there, Rosenfeld. Avram Rosenfeld has a son that's a shliach over there, someplace in Switzerland.
So the Rebbe paid so much money? The Rebbe paid so much money?
Yeah, and I went through... but let me tell you another interesting story. As I told you, my connection, the whole thing came through my cousin.
That's one.
Yeah. And he told, Barry told my cousin that if he'll sell Sforim, so he'll get 5% commission. When he sold the Noam Elimelech, so he sold the Noam Elimelech for $18,000. That was all. But the guy from Eretz Yisrael who bought it wanted to cancel the sale. So there was a question about the $900 commission for the Noam Elimelech, and he ended up getting his commission. They gave back the money, but he ended up getting his commission. But there's other Svarim that he sold that because his whole tumult, he lost his commission. So he wrote a letter to the Rebbe. And he writes to the Rebbe that he hopes that the Rebbe is happy what he did. But he writes that he has a tviyah. He used the word tviyah. He has a tviyah to the Rebbe about his commission that he lost. So the Rebbe answered him an answer, and this was the Rebbe's answer. A very interesting answer. On the word tviyah, the Rebbe circled the word tviyah and put like a question mark. It was a strange line. But he writes to say, Lepela Godel Habitul. This, you use the word yeah, this expression is Pela Godel. Ki yedua umufusam minig beisarav shekol shemagia mehabayis, in quotes the word bias, mishtadlim lahalsa behegdim. In other words, Lubavitch Blacknikem B'chayv, the Rebbe Blacknikem B'chayv, and the Rebbe writes, this is some of the reason for it. V'loy liyes al derech eved loy v'lish malva. It's a chapasuk that eved loy v'lish malva, that the gleiver becomes he owes money to the malva, so he becomes like an eved to the malva. So if the Rebbe owed money, so in order not to be in the derech of eved loy v'lish malva, so they pay right away. That's one thing. Then he writes another paragraph. Bli neder, ukefi she'echrasti, like I announced, b'yizvadis in the Yizvadis, sheki yaviu ksav shemagia schum pleni, when you if you bring a letter, Yachziru, that this is what the Rabbi announced, that if anyone will show a document that he paid kach for a sefer, they'll give it back to him. Al derech zeh, similarly, beniden dinon, in our case, kishiyove ksav meirav meire hayroa b'chosh mishpat, when you bring a ksav from b'chosh mishpat, shemagia lo schum ploini, that is entitled, your cowboy, he'll get it. Is the Gemara Shaila, da hat man doch a Psak von a Rav, so es kommt immer nicht. So again, who did we go to? We went to the same Rav that paskin the other two Shailas that I said. We went to him, that he should paskin his claim of the commission. So he paskin that's come to the commission. And what's smart
Last time you said yes, last time.
Huh?
Last time you said yes, commission.
No, this is commission for the sales that he could have made. Yeah. So he's passed because he said that there's a din in Shulchan Aruch if Shutvim if Shutvim were partnership in a business and they make a chalukah and they decided to break up. But they didn't sit down and evaluate it and to make sure that each one is getting the right amount. So the Shulchan Aruch said that if you're Teves, Kaidem Chalukah, so the Tfisa helps it. In other words, if someone grabbed some of this stuff and said, I'm taking this on my cheshbon, so the Tfisa helped me. Is that in the Shulchan Aruch? So the official Kapaskin that over here, Taka, even if we'll say that the two sisters, Chana and Chaim Mushkin, were Yoshim, but they never made a chalukah between themselves. He took his mother gave him from her cheluk. She had no right to give her cheluk because it's the type of chalukah. So when she took Kaidem Chalukah and gave away, is null and void. So therefore, and what he sold was things that she got, what she was typed was Kaidem Chalukah. They'll come to saying it's not hers, and the sale is bottled, and the middle there's no commission.
It means
The prophet he originally possibly said
that was what the sellers.
This means if it was God in Torah,
Huh?
if they would go into the Torah before she took, maybe they would be.
No, if they would have divided up the library, and she would give from her chelak svarim, so then he's being it's hers.
It means even when they were sitting by the Torah.
In other words, he was selling something that wasn't hers.
Yeah, but if you had the Torah before he was taken, she had a chance she would get some sport.
Could be.
But then psak.
Could be.
Because before the Teves.
Yeah, could be.
So we get that is dat zijn van die listen. We zijn van die listen. Als er een Teves ben, dan zijn van die listen.
Everyone talks about 400 svarim, but the truth is that when he gave a list of, he ended up giving a list also. So according to this, there was over 500 svarim that was taken. He managed to sell a little bit more than 100 svarim. And then they went to court, and they got a ruling from the court that he should turn it over to a storage that belonged to, that the court assigned. So that stopped him from selling further. From the 100 svarim or so that he got, almost all of them came back, except a few. Now the reason that a few didn't come back, there's a reason behind it also. The reason is as follows. Number one, this mice of taking svarim went on a long time. Went on, I think, about a year or 2 years, till they caught on to it. And during the time he sold svarim long ago, before the whole tumah became, so not all the svarim was such yikara mitziasin. So, Moshe, once they had the list, There's Sforim that what was in the Rebbe's library was only one copy or two copies, and there's Sforim that there was many copies around, and there's no way to know what was from the library, because I had said before, there's no stamp in the Sforim to who the Sforim belong. So there's a few Sforim that did not come back at the time that they got back to this Sforim. Maybe today, maybe something came back more. I don't know.
Say few, you mean just a few, like on the tiny count of the fingers?
There's like I don't know. Let's say 10 Sforim didn't come back from the 100 and something. So
What about
They made him pay.
the entire 35 years? Does anybody have any way of knowing that he didn't take out his foot then?
I told you he gave a list.
No, that was
Whatever he didn't sell was taken, put away in the storage. He had to give it over.
No, but what about 10, 15 years earlier?
I don't know.
There
There was a whole miser with 11 Sforim that are on the Rebbe's desk.
Yeah.
That he timed that it was given to him a present.
When, before, years ago?
And he said his grandmother gave it to him a present. And so he didn't want to give it back, but then there was a whole thing in the court later afterwards that they made a deal with him and he gave that back.
Did he have to give back all the money he made?
That's some Chassidim want to make a third Yom Tov which doesn't exist. I'll explain you what I mean. There's someone asked me why I don't mention it in this little booklet that I made on Teves. So I have the court rulings. Besides the whole story that I'm telling parts of it now, I have the court rulings, and I have also the ruling from the judge, and also the ruling from the appeals court. Very interesting ruling, very, very interesting footnotes there about Maimid and everything. It's his history of Lubavitch, how Lubavitch ran. So somebody did write up a book, and some people are celebrating the third victory, that the Rebbe didn't have to testify. Okay? The truth of the Maaseh,
You Gimel Kislev.
Okay, the truth of the Maaseh is, from my knowledge, that was far from a victory. What do you mean it was far from a victory? What happened was, he got made, from his sale that he sold Sforim, he made $160-something thousand. $1,000. It cost Lubavitch over $400,000 because they paid back what the people, the last buyer, paid for it. So it cost Lubavitch over $400,000 to get back. So after everything was over, some people in Lubavitch, I don't want to say hotheads, some people in Lubavitch decided that they're going to sue him for the money, for the $400,000. When they went to sue him for the money, what he went, and he countersued Lubavitch. Why did he countersue Lubavitch? He claimed, countersued the Rebbe actually, he claimed there was a miser with a bacha went upstairs to the third floor, and when she opened the door, he punched her and he broke her nose. And they tined, their lawyers tined, that this is the fault of the Rebbe, that the Rebbe incited his people, and by him inciting the people, that's why this happened. So they wanted, the judge was upset. The judge said, I gave you a library that's worth $40 million, and now you're suing him for $400,000. He didn't like the idea. Now that they came with this suit, a suit against the Rebbe, not only was it supposed to be a suit against the Rebbe, but then they said that they want to depose the Rebbe. The judge said, before, when they wanted to depose the Rebbe, so he saw no reason why they could depose the Rebbe. But he said now being that the Rebbe is a part of the suit over here, he sees no reason why they can't depose the Rebbe. So this, the people that wanted to make the suit got frightened that it's going to happen. And the Mela, they ran and they made with him a settlement. The settlement was that before that shark passed away, they had someone had to make a tzavor. And according to the tzavor, he was supposed to give everything he has to Aguch. So Mela, they said that he knew his father had money, and why should Aguch take over? So they gave him back his father's money, and he in turn gave back the svarim that he took from the desk, which he tiny that was given to him as a gift, and Mela, the whole court case was dropped.
You mean the second time they wanted to depose the Rebbe?
Yeah, in this case.
Yeah.
But why did he have to concede with anything of even giving back the gift that his mother gave him?
It was a settlement.
But they were frightened, so why did he have to concede in any? Why did he have to give anything in?
No, you know,
Something else was.
he wanted to get the money from
Yeah, so that's how they calmed him down. Because he was going to depose the Rebbe, so the only way they were going to...
Which time was it?
Was by giving him money.
Stop being ideological. It's money.
Yeah. Yes, so why they...
They gave him the money. He wanted to get the money. He doesn't care about all the rest.
They told the judge, I heard, that they can't depose the Rebbe. The Rebbe has a certain heart condition that extreme stress